I'm the underdog with the heroic heart. I'm Eric Jones Jr. I have to keep pushing for my kids. If I give up, what's that leave them with? Nothing. I have to understand that it's bigger than me. That it's not about me when I wake up and go to work. It's not about me when I'm reading and educate myself. It's not about me when I'm practicing my speeches. It's not about me. It's about my family.
Hey, you're now tuned in to Underdawg Talk. I'm your host, Eric Jones Jr., the underdog with the heroic heart, and I have conversations with successful underdogs. And before we get into who our successful underdog is for the week, if this is your first time liking this, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. If you're returning, thank you for returning to the Underdawg Talk family. If you are listening, like, share, comment, leave a review on any podcast platform. And today's successful underdog is Miss Renita, creator of Be Your Own Kind. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and you?
Like I just was saying, I'm a little tired, but that comes along with, being an adult.
You're right.
Yeah. So before we get into our conversation, today's episode is sponsored by Christian Dewan. It's actually my clothing line, positive energy through your clothes. We have hoodies, t-shirts, we have stuff for babies, toddlers, youth, men, women. If you use the promo code, Underdawg Talk Podcast, you will get 15% off. The website is christiandewan.com, and that is today's sponsor. So we're going to get into today's, I don't know, I'm tongue-tied, today's conversation. So how did you become your own kind? I know it didn't just happen overnight. What was your why, and how did you figure out this is what you wanted to do?
long story short, I got tired of being not myself, like living under a facade. Like I was kind of like a chameleon. I moved a lot as a kid. So after a while, I just learned how to adapt to a situation because I realized that I would only be there like temporarily. Like I believe I went to like 5 or 6 grammar schools. So I never really like felt the need to be myself or show people as myself because it was never beneficial, right? And when I did, I was kind of nerdy. I just never felt like I fit in. Like I thought I was defective. And came to an epiphany maybe in my 20s, like unhappy. Like why? I'm just stressed out all the time and this and that. And I just realized you're stressed out because you have to try to remember what facade you are to what person and to what group when it's just easier for you to just be yourself. You're not defective because you're different. You're different because you're just different. So I started the journey on not even reacquainting myself, actually learning myself because I didn't know myself at all. And the more comfortable I got in my skin, the more I realized like maybe there were other people that felt the same way I did. And that's when the platform was born.
All right. So I like that. So you said you moved around a lot. You felt like you never fit in. And then in your 20s, you're unhappy. And I definitely understand that in your 20s, you're like on the go. You're kind of just living life. And then sometimes life hits you and you're like, man, this is not cool. Like I something more to this. Then you said you started to understand that you had to be yourself. And a lot of times people don't understand being yourself is the best thing you can do because everybody ain't like Jesus. So everybody's not going to like you. Everybody's not going to be for you. Everybody's not going to support you. But when you're yourself, you're able to understand those things. And then you said different is different. I totally understand that. I've always been different, always thought different, always just been myself to a certain degree. And I just know that I'm different. Like I don't think like people, I don't speak like people. So I understood that. But then you said you didn't know yourself. And how did you started to know yourself or find yourself? What are some of the things that you did before you started helping others to find yourself?
It's funny though, it started with my favorite color. Like I was sitting one day and I can remember like everybody's favorite color, but then I was like, well, what is your favorite color? And I'm like, why am I contemplating this? Like this is something I should know about myself, right? So it made me realize how out of touch and how disconnected I was with myself. It was just that simple. Like I should know that about me. And I went from my favorite color to my favorite way of eggs to my favorite way of this to my favorite way of that. It was just kind of like small things. It started with small things and it just like accumulated into personality and creativity and things of that sort.
Understand. I definitely now my favorite color has been my favorite color, but I get what you're saying when you feel disconnected from yourself because in life you're gonna have isolation seasons where it's
Right.
just gonna be you and you have to figure out what's your favorite this or what's your favorite that or what makes you happy and those things. And like you said, it's the small things. I think one thing I forgot what I was watching or listening to, but they said write down 20 things that makes you happy, and that's the small things. Because if you start doing what makes you happy, then you'll be able to be happy being with yourself. You'll be able to actually go out and date yourself. So you find yourself, you got things rolling for yourself. Now you start this platform be your own kind. What was your initial goal? Did you have a goal, or you like I'm just gonna start this and see who I can help?
It was basically the latter. Like I was like, man, I wonder if there's other people out there that have felt or feel the way that I feel. And I just wanted to share my story to inspire others, just so you don't feel alone because sometimes it's inspiration in knowing you are not the only one dealing with this. And
Mm.
so that was my initial point.
Okay, and I like that you said you inspires others, and then you wanted to find people like you. And I think that's where you find your audience when, or whoever, it don't have to be speaking, podcasting, anything. It could be, you could be a cook. When you find other people like yourself, then that's where you find that you can reach and touch because you'll know their pain points, you'll know those different things. So how did it go? Did you find like a lot of people? Was you like did you have like 5 to 10? Did you have 1 to 2? Did you have like how did that go? That process once you finally started, was it easy or did it take some time for you to really get the ball rolling?
I feel like at first I was just kind of superficial, right? Because I'm still like, I don't want to share too much of myself and scare people away. And when I start opening up and being more vulnerable, like with the deeper things, I noticed that more people were drawn to my blog. Like it was a lot of strangers. I had to first deal with the fact that people that know you may not understand what you're doing. It doesn't mean that they don't love you. They just don't know. They just don't understand what you're doing. So I drew in a lot of strangers. Once I got over the fact that, okay, my audience are people I don't know because my whole point was to reach out to people like me, which means it made sense for it to be strangers. But I feel like when we start something, we always expect the familiar people, like, family and friends, to like, to like, read your stuff and like it and share it and things of that sort. So I forgot the question.
No, you answered the question, but
Okay.
I definitely understand what you're saying because I think anytime we start something, you're expecting like your close friends, your people, your homies to you know get into whatever you got into, and it doesn't happen that way. It's always strangers that are going to support you more or tell you things that you know yourself, but you don't hear it from people you're around every day because they don't see the greatness in you. Sometimes people are in the war with you, so they don't see like the outside looking in. So what did you? So I heard you say you started with a blog. Is that how you started, or did you? What was the steps that started the platform? Was it just blogging? Did you start videoing? What was that like process of that?
It started as a blog, and then I was like, how many people really read? Which surprisingly, a lot of people still read, which was good to find out. But a lot of people that don't read listen to podcasts. So then I started a podcast maybe a couple of years after that. And then the pandemic kind of, it was like right on the edge of the pandemic, I started a YouTube channel just to, I guess, keep spreading the word in different mediums. So that's kind of how that worked out.
So I want to how did you come up with Be Your Own Kind? Like, I don't think I asked that. Like, how did you come up with that particular name? What's behind that name? Or was it just something you seen or heard and was like, oh, that matches with what I'm doing?
The funny thing is, before I started my platform, I was talking to my husband, and I was just like, I'm like, it is so many people that have blogs. Like, what's gonna make a person like in this saturated field? What's gonna make a person like hear what I'm saying? And my husband was like, yeah, there are a lot of blogs, but every blog is missing. Like, every blog is specific to that person, and it'll be your own kind of blog. So when he said that, it kind of clicked in me. I'm like, it is my own kind. Like, how many jewelry stores there are, or makeup companies they are. The difference is that person's vision and creativity that makes it different. And so I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna make my own kind of blog. Then I'm like, that's not a bad title. Be your own kind. And at first I was going to like, be your own kind of beautiful, be your own kind, but no, be your own kind of anything that you want to be. Why would I limit to be my own blogger when I can be my own podcaster, my own YouTuber, my own this? Like, the sky is the limit of what I can condense, not condense, but to like make it unique towards me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely understand. So, are you giving your husband any credit for the name? Like, does he get a percentage? Like, what's going on there? I feel like he gets some type of percentage. Like, when you market and copyright, he gets something. Like, I feel like that.
I mean, we're one.
Nah. It's not we're one. He gets a percentage because he helped you with the idea. See, this is
Well,
big.
I mean, anything I get is his. That's my thing. But I mean, you wondering if it's like a professional contract? It's not.
See, he need to get his lawyers on deck because he helped you out. And then when you get really, really, really big, and then they be like, oh yeah, how did you come up with the name? And you gonna try to make up something different. It's okay. It's okay. I see how it is.
Oh Lord, I didn't even think about any of that.
Yeah, I see how it is. If we stay cool, I'm gonna have to talk to him and hey, bro.
You better watch her.
Yeah, percentage, man. Go listen to the show. She was trying to play you. So you're married. So how has marriage and your relationship went with you doing the entrepreneurial thing? Do you still work a 9 to 5, or you're a full-time entrepreneur? So it's kind of a loaded question. So how is marriage with everything that you're doing? Do you still work, a 9 to 5, or are you full-time entrepreneur? I'll leave it at that.
I work 9 to 5, entrepreneur, and I'm a wife, and I have a freelancing business. And with all of that, I learned that there'll be balances and imbalances. And what I've learned, that there is no such thing as like 100% balance, because when you're kind of like rocking it in one area, you're falling short in the other. So I'm just learning how to tip the scale. Where something is not, like, if I feel like I'm lacking in one area, I kind of just try to equal the scale a little bit. I try to make sure that I take out time every day with my husband, as well as every day with my platform. And in times that I need a break, I take that break. I legit take that break. I just won't do nothing for that day, because I also have to factor in myself too. I am part of my balance as well.
I understand.
Yeah.
Because I definitely understand the taking time for yourself. Because you can be on the move, especially when you're just getting going. You're trying to get things rocking, or just being consistent. And it's like, especially if you still working 9 to 5, like, it will whoop your tail. Like, I definitely understand that. So, with you being married? Do you guys work together, or is it he knows this is your thing? If you got some questions, you might ask him some ideas. But do you guys work together, or is it kind of like he got his own thing, you got your own thing?
I would say it's separate but equal. Like, of course, I do all the content and things, but he's like my creative person, which is why you think you should get a percentage. But I come to him for like a lot of ideas and a way to streamline things because he is a more logical thinker. And I'm kind of all over the place. Like, I just want to get it started. I don't think it out. He's one of those people like, wait, did you think about this? Did you think about that? What if you did it this way? So he kind of organizes my vision because if it was me, I would try to be everything all the time. Like, or it would just be all over the place. So he's part of the team.
I
In so
understand.
many
So,
words. Yeah.
so we're gonna make sure he get a part of the team cut because it sounds like he sounds like he's helpful in your content that you put out to the world every day. And yeah, we'll talk. We're gonna have to have a discussion all together because I'm gonna have to let him know something ain't right in the business part, bro. So before you get to start making them 0 0 0s, you need to get some things on paper just in case you try to be like, oh, he had nothing to do with it.
I would never do that. I appreciate him because I know so many marriages where the problem is that the woman has like her business or trying to build it and the guy is like bucking against it and putting obstacles in her way. So I'm really grateful that I have a husband that has supported me in all my crazy ideas because this is not the first business or LLC I've started. Like I'm just yeah, I kind of just like to start a lot of things. And he has been supportive on every last venture that I've ever done. If I want to be a baker, I come home and I got like an industrial mixer and all the cupcake pan. Like he has always, since I've known him, he's just always supported my crazy ideas all the time.
That's good because, like you said, sometimes in marriage it could be husband or wife that other person doesn't support or they don't get like you're not gonna just wake up and be successful. You got to put in the work. You got to do something like when you first start. That's when you got to work the hardest. That's when you got to put in everything because a lot of the times it's just you doing it, and then but you like you said earlier, you have to understand that balance too. So does he? So does he have his own thing, or does he just work a 9 to 5, or like? So in the scheme of things, do you guys have where you guys have your own thing and you eventually work together, or is it like you got this and he works, he does his thing working whatever he does?
Well, currently he works 9 to 5, but he is working on his venture. And eventually we want to all be under the same umbrella. So that's why I said right now it's separate but together. Because we're on paper we haven't like made it a whole a corporation yet, but that's the end goal.
Okay. So
Yeah.
paperwork will get together eventually. Okay, that's good. But I
Mhm.
like to see that where you guys are able to work together as a team on your own things, but the end goal is for you guys to win and be champions together. Because a lot of times people don't understand that you when it, I'm gonna give an example of like cooking. So if I'm cooking, maybe I'm good at making the macaroni, you good at making the greens, somebody else good at making the chicken. Like everybody do their own thing, and it's amazing. And then you put it down at the table, and now it's a fire dinner instead of oh well, I know how to do that. Let me do that. People don't understand that even in relationships. So and we'll get off the relationship. So, what is your goal with your platform? What's your do you have like a long term goal or is it more short term?
Oh, Eric, this would be like a 2 hour episode if I told you everything. But just to streamline it, I do want to eventually own my own co-working space. I want to like where I just want to help anyone trying to be their own kind of anything. Like I legit want to have business scholarships, grants, things of that sort. Like I want it to grow into like a huge brand. Like I don't want to just limit to it being media. And my whole point is to give back. I want to be successful so that I can give it back. People that's having a hard time finding spaces, or people that's having a hard time with resources or getting off their feet. Every bump on the road and every mistake I have, I feel like that has happened for me to help someone not to do that thing. You know what I'm saying? And that is my end goal, would be your own kind. Like whatever you're trying to be your own kind wants to help you be that thing.
I love it. I love it. I love. That's funny that you said co-working space, because I was just looking at that this week at some co-working spaces here of where I could go, because I kind of do everything at home, and just to be somewhere different in a different environment. So what is you, Renita's personal like goals outside of the build your own kind? Do you want to just be in that platform where you're the helpful person? Do you want to take your podcast somewhere? Do you want to speak? What is it for you? Because sometimes we have our businesses, but then there's other vehicles that we use or that to get us to certain places, or is all your focus just on be your own kind?
That is a great question, because one of my main things that I try is to not make what I do my identity. Yes, I have be your own kind, but be your own kind is not my identity, if that makes sense. So, as far as be your own kind, I would like the podcast to tour internationally, and even throughout the United States. However, for myself, I just don't want to work a 9 to 5 anymore. Like I want to work for myself full time, and travel and speak and just encourage and inspire. Like I feel like my purpose is to help bring other people to their purpose. And I feel like I can more freely do that if I am not constricted to a 9 to 5. So that is my main goal. Either I'm going to retire early from the 9 to 5, or I'm going to find a way to make what I make now or more on my own.
Definitely with you. Definitely with you on that, with the 9 to 5. Like the 9 to 5 pays the bills. It helps you,
Right.
and depending on whatever that person's 9 to 5 is, I think it helps you if you take advantage of it. Like sometimes we don't realize that 9 to 5 is gonna teach us things that we can use in our business, or somewhere down the road. So you gotta outwork the 9 to 5. So when you quit, it's not like it's like, yes, I did the things that I needed to. Now I can leave this job because I know I'm all in my business. And I like that you want to inspire people and travel. Travel is definitely something that I want to do it with the podcast. I want to go to different places. Where do you stay at again?
I stay in Lafayette, Indiana, not too far from
Okay,
you.
so you're not. So you the closest person that I've interviewed. I've interviewed someone from Brooklyn, someone from Florida, Illinois. I got someone from England tomorrow, and I forgot where
Right.
the guy is from. So it's like I told my son earlier. I was like, "Yeah, man, I've been here, I've been there." He's like, "How you been there?" I was like, "I've interviewed these people. Eventually, I'll be at the point where I can go and be wherever that person is and travel with the podcast and even do tours." Like I see a lot of podcasts do tours, and I think that's really dope. So, what are the 3 tips that you can give the listeners? Because this has been a great conversation. We've talked about um, we've talked about the platform, and then also talked about marriage relationships. So, what are 3 tips that people can take away to be your own kind?
Number one, I want to piggyback what you just said, learning from the 9 to 5. I feel like sometimes humans are guilty of just like, oh, I want that millionaire, but they want to skip the preparation point. And so I feel like you are correct when it comes to your 9 to 5. It teaches you discipline, because you're going to be your own boss. So you're not going to have anybody to keep you on task. It's going to teach you organization. It's going to teach you the importance of deadline, and like following some rules that don't make sense, because some government business laws just don't make sense, but we got to adhere to them. So number one, I want to say to embrace that preparation period. learn and absorb as much as you can. Never stop learning. Even when you reach that goal that you're at, guess what? You're gonna make a new one and a new one and a new one. So don't limit yourself. Allow yourself to absorb what you can and grow from that. Number two, give yourself grace and patience. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes along the way, being your own kind, because guess what? Life is not an audition. This is the real thing. So we don't get to like play around with it and then, come back and start over. No. So you're gonna make mistakes and you're gonna have some bumps in the road. But guess what? You're human. That's a human experience. Perfection has no is not in the human experience. I'll just limit it like that. So have patience with yourself and grace with yourself, and don't take every no and every bump as something negative. But like I said earlier, it's a lesson learning what not to do. And you never know, you'll come across a person that's trying a way that you tried and it didn't work, and you can say, hey, let me save you from that. It'll help you be a roadmap to someone else. And number three, enjoy what you do. If it gets to the point that you start off doing something that you love to do and it starts to be a task, reassess, rebrand, or just change your schedule, or maybe you're doing too much here. Just make it fun. When it's not being fun, recalibrate. Find out what's not making it fun. And if you realize that this is just because you start off wanting to do this one thing, it's okay if you reroute to do another thing. You are never set in stone with what you want to do. It is okay to rebrand. It is okay to reroute. It's nothing wrong with that at all. Especially if you want to keep if something that you thought was fun, that you thought would be great as a job. Like a lot of people I know that cook, they don't want restaurants because they enjoy cooking and they don't want that said thing to not be fun anymore. So it's okay if you started off a restaurant and it sucks. I don't want to do this because I want this to stay fun. It's okay to reroute it and do something else that you feel you can make more money in and still keep your hobby as your outlet, if that makes sense.
Oh, definitely makes sense. I love it. Embrace your preparation period. Give yourself grace and patience, and enjoy what you do. And that's the one of the most important things in life is enjoy what you do. Love what you do. Sometimes, like being in education, I've seen where teachers, you can tell they kind of don't love what they do. They just kind of do it. And you can tell by their classroom or, their kids in the classroom. Like, I'm not the smartest, I'm not the most educated teacher, but I love helping kids. I love educating kids. I love inspiring kids. So I figure out what to do in the right way to help them in the way that I do it. Like, I do a lot of music. I do a lot of, stuff that kids like to do, but I enjoy doing it and I'm myself doing it. And I had to embrace that preparation period too, because not knowing like curriculum, not knowing how to set up stuff, I had to ask questions. I had to, get training from somebody else. So definitely. And then the patience part, if don't nobody know about education, if you ain't got patience, ain't no way you can be a teacher. There's no way you can be any kind of nothing, because these kids is crazy. Like, it's like kids is crazy. Like, they say they're off the wall things. Their attention span is short. Like, you gotta have patience. You gotta remember you used to be a kid. So everything that you said with those three tips, I definitely understand and definitely apply them myself. So I always ask everybody to give an underdog quote. So your underdog quote is something that pertains to being your own kind. What can somebody that kind of like they don't know what to do, or they was doing something because their friends was doing it, because their parents was doing it, because they was told that's what they need to do, but they need to be their own kind. What's a quote that you have for them?
I'll just repeat that life is not an audition. You only get one life, so why not spend it being yourself?
Can you not? You're not gonna just say that and then pause, like drop
That's
the mic.
the quote.
I know. But can you say that one more time for the listeners?
I said, life is not an audition. So because we only have one, no, I forgot what I said. Life is not not an audition. So because we only have one life to live, why not spend it living it being yourself. I liked it the way I said it the first time.
Yeah, I like the way you said it the first time. So we still gonna have both of them on there. But I need to say that again because that was very powerful. Life is not an audition. Is it's not no it's camera lights action. It's like if you're not prepared, stay on the porch. But you have to be prepared because you don't want to be average. We all have a purpose. We all are to be great individuals. And so you have to do more than just wake up and go through the motions. I appreciate you for being on the show and tell the listeners how they can get in contact with you and what you have going on with Be Your Own Kind.
I have all the stuff going on, and you can find out about that at www.beyourownkind.com. We have merch coming up. As usual, we have content with the blogging, the podcasting, and the YouTube. So please subscribe to the newsletter, and please help us just to get to 1,000 on YouTube. I would really appreciate that. I can also be found on Instagram at be_your own kind.
All right. Yes, and definitely help her to get to 1,000 on YouTube. I will be on her episode. I don't know. I think we might be around the same time, or I don't know. But she let me be on her platform, and I return the favor. That's what you're supposed to do when you're working with people. When you're trying to add value to others, you give other people an opportunity because her listeners might have needed to hear something I had to say. I know my listeners needed to hear something she had to say. And again, I appreciate you. I know I didn't say your last name, so how do you say your last name? I don't know. I be having everybody's names, and I try not to jack them up so people know who you are.
My is Quirls, Quirls, and might I add that I really do appreciate you with the favor and allowing me to be a guest on your podcast. I love everything about it and just keep inspiring.
Thank you, thank you. And on that note, peace, one love.